Okay, let's drill into the steel market now with an actual player in the market. We'll have a look at stocks for some of the U.S. steel companies. Our guest says that Trump's tariffs, of course, don't directly affect the U.S. industry, but they are, of course, likely to produce knock-on effects. We're joined by Jeremy Flack, CEO of Flack Global Metals. Jeremy, great to see you. Once again, remind us very quickly, if you would, you're based in Arizona. What does the company do, please?
Andrew, thanks for having me again. So we're an industrial business. Our primary medium is flat-rolled steel, and we manufacture, distribute, and trade the financial derivatives of flat-rolled steel.
So remind us what President Trump has done on the tariff front. Can you very quickly tell us what levies has he actually put on, please? We know there's a levy gone on metal from Canada, for example.
Well, there's been quite a bit of confusion, Andrew, so that's a good question. President Trump's administration has reinstated the 232 tariffs that they rolled out in 2018. And what they've essentially done is removed all the exceptions that existed at that tariff when it was originally introduced. The potentially more interesting story for North America is the U.S. Trade Representative on Friday determined anti-dumping cases against many countries, for example, Vietnam, Mexico, some steel mills in Mexico, steel mills in Brazil, levying anti-dumping against corrosion-resistant steel. And so that's a new twist in the trade actions by the administration.
I know it's a complex and moving story, but is this likely to improve the profitability of U.S. steel producers?
Well, the spreads off their raw materials have grown considerably in the last couple of months since the tariffs were first introduced. So the answer is yes. Those numbers are pretty easy to see. I will say, though, that our steel mills here in this country have a very good track record of reinvesting their profits back into more modern production. And we have new mills coming online in the United States right now. So the pricing of steel in the United States has gone up since the tariff action started, but it's still below the 5-year historical average.
So the pricing has gone up. So that is bad news for American industrial users of steel.
Well, I think, Andrew, it's a question of from what price did we go up from? And we went up from a very, very low, unsustainable price in the United States. So again, if we're still underneath the 5-year historical average for steel, and the American economy has been flourishing for the last 4 years since the pandemic, then a couple $100 increase in the price of steel, which is all that's really occurred from these trade actions, they're really just, it's just a lot of talk about really not much.
That's interesting. Yeah. Now, I know this is another complex one, but do you feel that countries such as Canada and Mexico have been acting as backdoors for Chinese steel, maybe importing them into our nation and into Mexico, and then sending on our own steel into the U.S.?
Well, I'm certainly not qualified to answer that question directly, but we'll say that the United States is a steel short manufacturer. We haven't been making enough steel in our country since the early 1980s to supply ourselves all we consume. So it's been a long restructuring in this country for 40 some odd years of the steel industry here, and we're still a net importer. So we still need to demand imports into this country. Higher steel prices, in theory, have what's drawn in imports over time, and will continue to draw imports here at some level. It's just a question of balancing things. Bad actors. China's certainly been a mercantilist economy. I don't think that's new news to anyone. So it's difficult to say exactly where the substrate comes once it finally arrives in the United States.
Yes.
Certainly, we are in a position to blame anyone, but supporting this, making sure that we make steel in the United States is very, very important to this country, because if we don't make the steel here, then we can't make the things out of steel here. And it's just an odd mix, of issues that the administration's trying to solve.
Jeremy, we'll have to jump. I'm sorry we don't have more time with you, but thank you very much for giving us the time.
All right. Thanks, Andrew.
Jeremy Flack, CEO of Flack Global Metals. Coming up.